September 1st, about 20 minutes to noon. They've had this paddock about 24 hours, moved them in here yesterday. This is for documentation purposes. And now we're moving them into the next paddock, and they will have this paddock for another 24 hours. We did get the chickens right behind them, which is awesome. That's ideal. So now the chickens are going to be moved every 2 to 3 days. And they'll get much larger paddocks and just be moving a lot more often now that we finally have caught back up to the cows. So that happened last night, Sunday night, about 6 o'clock or so, after we got all the birds moved out of the brooder, after we got all our final batch of broilers moved out of the brooder. We got these guys moved. We got those guys moved. Now today, I'm gonna move these guys first because they're pretty hungry. And then we're gonna move those over there. That's the bachelor pad, that's all the males. But then the chickens have another day or two before they will advance. But having everything close together on one farm and just cycling through definitely makes life a lot better. Makes it, I think we do a better job of managing when I can have everything in one group. Well, it definitely leads to longer rest periods. So, and you know, what it actually does is it causes us to apply a heavier disturbance over a shorter duration with longer rest periods. So yeah, multi-species grazing, cattle, sheep, goats in this paddock that they've had for 24 hours, and laying hens in this paddock. And this was about, I think about 2 days. I think we cycled through this previous paddock. I don't know, and that's the beautiful thing about these videos is I can document and show exactly. I'll know the exact dates and times. But yeah, chickens got into here yesterday, and this is where they were for about 4 days, I think. Now they're here. Cattle, sheep, goats going forward, chickens going right in behind. And then we'll actually run down this fence line, skip this middle section, run down this fence line, probably come back right up over here on the other side of this brown area, because see, this was the chickens' previous paddock before here. So here we actually ran the bachelor pad through all of this, and there's only like 12 in there, so it's 12 basically yearlings. I think one of our rams is 2 years old, so yeah, total of 12. One's a yearling, the rest are just lambs and kids from this year, males. So they hit all this real hard, and then so we'll skip that. You know, once the cows, goats, and sheep get down here, we'll turn and we'll skip that and come back up, same row, and continue on through the rest of the farm. And I guess the goats and sheep are these guys, the bachelors, so the males won't be ready to be introduced back to the females until December. So there's a 5-month gestation for the lamb and goats. So if we do December, that'll give us like a May lamb or kid, which is perfect because there's just tons of forage at that point in time, and we don't have to worry about the colder weather anymore. So anyhow, let me get this paddock set up and get these guys moved, and we'll be back on the next one. All right, so it's 12:20. That took me about 40 minutes to get the animals moved from that paddock to this paddock, and we got the water filling up right now. Everybody's grazing. Wrong button on the gimbal, sorry about that. But yeah, I got the water filling up right now. Everybody's out grazing in the new paddock, and I just kind of want to share with actually myself. Look at this little guy. All right, so basically the flood cattle, sheep, goats moved into here. They have had this paddock right here for about 24 hours. And like I was saying earlier, the chickens have now had this paddock for about the same, about 24, actually a little less, about 18 hours. But anyhow, and yeah, I guess that's the same is true with them. It's probably closer to about 18 hours that they were in this paddock. But so I was pointing out earlier how much easier it is now that everybody's close together, and it's going to allow us to run a lot more efficiently. So as I was explaining earlier, we have our male goats over here, and I want to say there's 12, and that's including the breeding stock, which we have 2 male sheep rams that we'll put back in for breeding in December, and then we have 1 male goat, a buck, who will be putting in to cover the does as well in December. So the rest of those guys are basically animals that we're finishing out. And we also have 2 steers in this group that we're finishing out. I did some video of one of them. I'll get some footage on the other, but he's both of them are in that far corner. But so now, as I was setting all this up and going through here, I came up with a new strategy. See, I wasn't quite sure which direction to go with the males. So what I've decided now is I'm going to separate the 2 steers that I'm finishing out right here, and we're going to combine them with those males over here. And then we're going to run all the males right in front of the group of females. The only thing I could possibly see going wrong with this, and this is a big possible problem, is that's a lot of, all those guys are intact, meaning none of those sheep or goats have been castrated. And running them right in front of the mamas, the females, might not work out so well. That may be a bit too much of a mental draw on the goats, and they just come through the fence, the sheep too. Because, this is electric fence. This is a psychological deterrent. Is definitely not a physical one. I mean, this stuff is fairly flimsy. They can easily get stuck in it as well. But so I'll have to give that one more thought. But as to whether I'm going to do that or not, maybe just for safety's sake, we'll go in the opposite direction. So maybe keep the small flood heading to the barn, since we're going to have to load them up, and maybe I run them in that upper pasture. That's a well-rested pasture. But anyhow, that leads me to my second part. The second part of the plan is, now that we finally caught up with the chickens, the egg layers, I will do three moves. So this is 1, 2, and then we'll do a third one. Once the cattle, so on the 4th day, the chickens are going to come into this whole section. So it'll essentially be 3, 2. Hold on. It'll essentially be day 3, day 2, day 1 for the next paddock that I hadn't built yet. Once the cows are off that, we take netting, and then just pull this one up and let them through. So they'll essentially have whatever that is. I'm not exactly sure, but it'll be about 3 days of the cows. So this paddock will be 3 days old when they hit it. They'll also get a day old, a 2 day old, and a 1 day old paddock, but that's irrelevant. They'll be here for 3 days. I think that's going to help because they'll essentially, during fly season, I mean, fly season's pretty much over here, but once fly season does start, they'll annihilate these paddocks or these patties, cow patties on day 3, because that's the you know, or at least that's what I've heard anyway from all the you know, the talking heads in this space, or Joel Salatin, you know, for instance. You know, 3 days. You want the chickens following 3 days behind the cattle because that's the cycle of the fly. That's on the 3rd day it starts to emerge as larvae, and that's when you want that extra, you know, that's when you want the chickens on it because that's when they're going to get that the most protein out of it. And so that'll work. They'll essentially get a little 3-day feast. Then by then the cattle will have covered another space after 3 days and move the chickens onto that. But anyhow, it's going to make life a lot easier. Gonna rethink the whole putting the males in the front. I mean, the reason I was thinking that is because there's a lot less males than females, and what that would allow me to do is basically they could selective graze. So they would be able to hit all the good stuff, you know, depending on how often I'm moving them. If I'm moving them on a, you know, twice a day, they'll have one paddock 4 to 6 hours, and then the next paddock usually 18 to 24 hours. So so if we did that, they would, you know, the males would essentially selectively graze, get all the really good stuff, allowing them to fatten up. They wouldn't have the competition. And then put the females in just to essentially clean up what's left, and the calves as well, because we're, you know, we're just not ready to finish them. And then come when it's time to separate them, maybe that's how we do it from here on out. It's just a matter of whether the males will respect the electric fence. I mean, right now we got space in between them. There's the males. There's the females. So, I don't know. Maybe y'all let me know what you think. I need to hurry up and get this video posted because I got maybe 1, 2, 3. I don't know. We got about a week. We got about a week maybe before it would be simple to catch them up. And so maybe I'll pose that question to y'all right now. Anybody have experience separating their male and female sheep and goats? I'm not worried about the steers. I mean, their mamas are right here. They're fine. They're not sexually active, but obviously the intact sheep and goats are sexually active. So, and I've heard some pretty serious stuff about trying to keep them separate. I mean, we've never had any issues, mainly because we always fail to separate them. But this time we actually do have them separated. So anybody, if y'all have experience, let me know if you think it's feasible or a good idea. I mean, I guess I already know the answer to that question. It's going to depend on like how hot your fence is, you know. I guess how hot and how high. I mean, you got that thing pumping 13,000 volts or something. I doubt they're gonna, and it's just 6 foot tall. You'll probably be okay, but I don't know. We're probably about 4,000 volts on this, and you know, it's only 30 inches tall. So let me know what you think. Anyhow, thanks for watching.